Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'Hashem Yahushai, Ba'Hashem Rachakodash. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is Various Topics, dated February 13th, 2023, the year of the hopeful year that all the prophecies of Yahweh Ba'Hashem Yahushai be fulfilled. And I don't really have much. I just wanted to say a little something extra on this video that I did last night. A few words on the GMS Boston speaking today, and this was yesterday. And this individual, as you already know, he's a bug out. You know, Elder Pastor did a video on him also, and the guy is gone. You know, but what I wanted to do was we went through Genesis 25 and 1 Samuel 16, dealing with the words red and ruddy. And I had mentioned that, you know, the Hebrew word for both of them is the same word, adamawanya, and one says red, the other one says ruddy. And there's a reason for that, because King David, you know, King David was not red like Esau was red. Esau was red like the so-called white man. King David was ruddy like a brown-skinned man with reddish undertones, I guess you could say, for lack of better words. All right, as we mentioned, you type in the Google Images. If you go to Google Images, if you type in, you know, Ruddy Animals, this is what you're gonna get. Go to Images, boom. This is a duck or goose or geese or whatever it is, and you can see the word I typed in ruddy, and you can see ruddy animals, and they're what? Brown with sort of like a reddish or orangey type tint, you know? And even when you type in complexion, you have these children right here. This is a ruddy complexion. See how they're brown, but they didn't have like a little reddish tint to them, you know? And this was different from Esau. See, Esau was red. You know, like this individual here is red. That's not ruddy. That's not a ruddy complexion. Now the cat has a ruddy complexion. This individual is red. This is Esau's color. This was King David's color. So you could understand. Because sometimes that word, adamawanya, and other Hebrew words mean different things depending on, you know, the context that is used. And one thing I forgot to bring out, here in Genesis 25, it says, and the first came out red all over like a hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. The name Esau, from the Hebrew word Ishashwa or Ishah, the wa at the end, which is not connected, is he or him, and the Ishah or the Isha or Ishash part is wasted he. And why did he call his name Esau? Because when he came out, he didn't come out like regular babies. He came out, you know, different looking than the rest. That's why he was astonished when he saw that. This is why Aaron was taken aback when he saw Miriam being changed from a brown-skinned woman to a so-called white woman, you know, and he got nervous because they knew they done fucked up, you know. But when we go down to the NLT, and we read here, it says the first one was very red at birth and covered with thick hair, which he really wasn't covered with thick hair. He was described as being red like an hairy garment. It didn't say red and hairy. It said red like an hairy garment. Very red at birth and covered with thick hair like a fur coat, so that they named him Esau. All right, so he was very red, so you could understand. When we go to 1 Samuel 16 and 12, and he sent and brought him in. This is dealing with King David, or David before he was king. Now he was ruddy and withal of a beautiful countenance and goodly to look to. And the Lord said, arise, anoint him, for this is he. So when we go to the NLT of the same verse, so Jesse sent for him. He was dark and handsome. See? With beautiful eyes, and the Lord said, this is the one, anoint him. This is why High Priest Ariah, when these devils used to try to bring this up, you know, about King David being ruddy, he would say, you know, it means tender, tender, young, beautiful, the beauty of youth, dark and handsome, as it says here. And even, what's her name? Esther. I'm not sure which chapter in Esther it was. Let's see. This is additions. Maybe it might have been 13. Or maybe 14. Right. We're getting there. Just bear with me 1 second. Let's do it this way. Okay. 5th verse. Right here. Additions to Esther chapter 15 and 1. And upon the 3rd day, when she had ended her prayers, she laid away her mourning garments and put on her glorious apparel, being gloriously adorned, after she had called upon the Most High, who is the beholder and Savior of all things. She took 2 maids with her, and upon the one she leaned, as carrying herself daintily. Right, because scriptures say that the daughters of Zion would not even dare touch the floor, with their feet, because they were so dainty. You wouldn't know that now, because these women, they're more masculine than truck drivers, today. They're more masculine than WWE or WWF wrestlers. It says, and the other followed, bearing up her train, and she was ruddy through the perfection of her beauty. See, so the word ruddy is synonymous with the word beauty. This is why here it said that King David was dark and handsome. Meaning he wasn't like Esau. Esau, even though the same Hebrew word is used there, Esau was very red, like a hairy garment. But King David was dark and handsome. He was of a beautiful countenance. He was a young man. He was of a beautiful countenance, and that's what this meant, because the word ruddy is synonymous with youthful beauty. And she was ruddy through the perfection of her beauty. And her countenance was cheerful and very amiable, but her heart was in anguish for fear. Okay? And there was a reason why, because she, her and Jake back then, they were in serious trouble, but the Lord delivered our forefathers and foremothers out of that situation. All right, so that was so you can get an understanding. And then when we go to the book of Songs of Solomon, the 1st chapter dealing with King Solomon himself, the Song of Songs, which is Solomon's. This is Solomon. These are Solomon's songs. He wrote this. He wrote the book of Proverbs. He wrote the book of Songs. He wrote the book of Wisdom of Solomon. And I'm sure he wrote many other things because he was a very wise king. But then these devils, these small hats, try to say that this was a Shulamite woman, which that Shulamite woman, Elder Pastor brought it out, was an actual, I believe they call it an epithet, which is a name for someone, and it was actually a name for King David. Let me see. Epithet, an adjective or descriptive phrase expressing a quality characteristic of the person or thing mentioned. Okay, well, really not that doesn't really mean that. It doesn't mean like a name. It's just something that's a descriptive phrase of a person, But it was another name for King Solomon, as Elder Pastor went into. Matter of fact, I'm not sure if that's chapter 5 or chapter 4. I'm not sure if it says Shulamite or Shunammite. And Esau does not have bushy locks. And right here when it says my beloved is white and ruddy, meaning my beloved is brilliant and beautiful. Matter of fact, let me see what it says in the NLT. Young woman, my lover is dark and dazzling. Look at that. Dark and dazzling. Letting you know that word does not mean red. And the thing about it is, in this particular verse here, the word Adamawanya does not appear. Now they have the word Adawam, which should not be Adawam. You see how it should be Adam, Adama. Adawam means red. And this is why, I don't trust, the blue letter, even though they bring out a lot of good information. A lot of times they be going off on certain things, because the word should be Adam, which is ground. And the ground is different shades of brown. All right. So my beloved is dazzling because it says they're white. So see, he was white. He was white. Tazach. The word is dazzling, glowing, clear, bright. Right, because the scriptures say wisdom maketh a man's face to shine. And how much more when, you're decked out like King Solomon. He had, probably, some type of oil on his face, coconut oil or whatever the case may be on his face, on top of the glow from the wisdom that he had. Also, he was decked out and, just in style. So white does not mean like a so-called white person. It means dazzling, glowing, clear, bright. But if you don't know any better, you would think, oh, this is a cut to you black Hebrew Israelites, because King Solomon was white. No, he was not. He was glowing and beautiful, dark and handsome. The chiefest among 10,000s. Now, when we go back, Songs of Solomon 1:1, which really this is dealing with the Most High. If you really get down to it, because the woman that's writing this epithet, I'm sorry, not epithet. I keep using that word. It's not epithet. The woman that's writing this poem is really King Solomon. Well, how can you say that King Solomon is a man? He's a man. How can you say he's a woman? Or Jeremiah 6:1 says, 6:2, I have likened the daughter of Zion to a comely and delicate woman. And this is why the Lord said in the same book of Jeremiah 3, and I believe that's 14, it says, turn, O backsliding children, saith Yahweh, for I am married unto you, see? And I will take you one of a city and two of a family, and will bring you to Zion, because the flock of the Most High's pasture are men, and the men are his bride. Excuse me, so you could understand. So going back to Songs of Solomon, my beloved is white and ruddy. He's dealing with the Most High being dazzling and beautiful, the chiefest among 10,000, right? Because there's no one like the Most High. And then when we go to Daniel, the 7th chapter, and these are cuts to these devils. The Ancient of Days. And who is the Ancient of Days? The Most High. There's a scripture, I believe it's in Psalms, where it speaks about the Lord, and being ancient or something like that, but I can't think of the wording. It's either in Psalms or it might be in the Apocrypha. Daniel 7:9. I beheld till the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit. This is the Most High sitting down, whose garment was white as snow, because he had a white garment on. And Daniel actually saw a vision of the Most High sitting on his throne, and he was describing what he looked like. And the hair of his head like the pure wool. It didn't say it was white. It said the pure of his head like the pure wool. And when you look at the texture of wool is like the texture of so-called black people. All right, coarse, bushy, wavy, you could however you want to put it. And Esau does not have body to their hair unless they're somehow mixed with Jake. This is why them devils got to put all them chemicals in their hair to try to make their hair look like Jake. They got to put all them chemicals in their lips and in their face to try to look like Jake. They got to put all them chemicals in their behind to look like Jake. because they're just bland on all levels. So this is showing you that the Most High is a so-called black man. The hair of his head like the pure wool. And you could type it in. Wool, and wool is not just white. Elder Pastor, looked it up, which we knew that, you have black sheep, you have white sheep, you have different color sheep. And the Elder Pastor, in one video he did, he went into all of that. All right, let's go to images. You got it right there already. Look at this. That is not the hair of a so-called, white person, an Edomite. This one here almost looked like dreads. The dreaded dreads. Look at this. You put a so-called white man and a so-called black man next to this. Who's gonna fit this hair texture more? The so-called white man or the so-called black man? Let's see. All right, here we go. Let's open this up. Okay, we got that one. And we got, let's go with this one. You know what, let's go with this one here. Let me see how big this is. No, it's kind of small. Let's try another one. Let's try this one. Too small. Trying to get a good one where it's the same size as the other one, so we can. Now George Clooney, we believe he's a Jake. Let's see this one. How big is this one? All right, that's good. That's good. Now we're gonna put. This is the sheep. This is the woolly hair. Does that fit this type of hair? Or does that fit this type of hair? I'll let you decide. Boom. Woolly hair. Esau. Jacob. Who does it fit? Does it fit this one? Meaning this? Or does it fit this one? I would say it fits this more than this. All right. So, going back. This is talking about the Most High. He's a so-called black man. The hair of his head was like the pure wool. His throne was like the fiery flame, and his wheels as burning fire. This is dealing with the chariots that he was sitting on top of. All right, and then you have a whole bunch of chariots around there, because you have the fathership, and then you have what they call shuttle ships. So going back to Songs of Solomon, my beloved is white and ruddy, the chiefest among 10,000. This is dealing with the Most High being glowing and handsome, as we read here in the NLT. Young woman, my lover is dark and dazzling, better than 10,000 others. All right, okay. Now, I believe that's, not sure if that's the 6th chapter. Right here, yep. Songs of Solomon 6 and 13. Return, O Shulamite. Return, that we may look upon thee. What will you see in the Shulamite, as it were the company of two armies? Now this Shulamite, they're saying that this is a woman that wrote the Songs of Solomon. But this is actually King Solomon, another name for King Solomon. And you see it's in Shulamite is like in a feminine type of way. Shawalamayath, which King Solomon's name is what? Shalamah. All right, Shulamite, the perfect or the peaceful, the heroine lover of the Songs of Solomon. Where is it? Peaceful article, always Queen Shulamite. Maiden, celebrated, maybe taken, Shunammite, Shunem. This may be taken as the feminine form of Solomon, right? Because it was another name for King Solomon. And I'm not sure if the Apostle Tar went to the I'm not sure if he went to the commentary where it also brought out the fact or the point that was another name for King Solomon. But let's do it this way. Let's do it this way. The Shulamite, from Hebrew Shulamite, woman of Jerusalem, is the central figure in Songs of Solomon. One of the positive representation of womanhood. Doesn't really bring it out, but that's another name for King Solomon. Like I said, I don't really remember if the apostle went to the commentary or what. You know what? Let's see what it says here in NLT. Young women of Jerusalem, return to us, O maid of Shulam, come back. Say again, young man, what do you? All right. But we did get some info here. This may be taken as a feminine form of Solomon, because this was a, like you have something called pen names. That would have been like a pen name of King Solomon. Pen name, an assumed name used by a writer instead of their real name, see? And it's heavy that this same name here is also like a feminine way of saying Solomon. You have their shalom, peace. And then when we go to Solomon, let me see. Solomon, you have the word shalamah, which means peace or peaceable. All right. Then we go back again and we go to the 5th verse. See, because they're trying to put this on somebody else, because when you go through these words here in the Hebrew, it brings out the point that this is a so-called black person, which is really a so-called brown person, you know. And they don't. This proves that the Israelites are brown-skinned people, you know. Another one is matter of fact, before we go there, let's go real quick to Job 30. Job 30:30. My skin is black upon me and my bones are burnt with heat. Yeah, because he was a so-called black man and he had a high fever because of, you know, the afflictions that he had upon him. Okay. So now we go back to Songs of Solomon. I am black but comely. Jacaz is saying what? I am black and beautiful. And King Solomon is King David's son. So how in the hell can King David be a so-called white man? You know, and King David, it was said that, so Jesse sent for him. He was dark and handsome with beautiful eyes. And the Lord said, this is the one, anoint him. All right, so I am black but comely. We look up the word black. The word there is shachar, black. Probably dusky, but also absolute jetty black. Because King Solomon was very dark. Black used of hair. A horse, blackish color of the face. To let you know that King Solomon was a very dark brown-skinned man. All right. All right. Okay. So you fail, Esau, once again. You fail miserably. See, black, to be black of skin, meaning very dark. So going back, the next word would be, O ye daughters of Jerusalem, as the tents of Kedar, as the curtains of Solomon. Tents of Kedar. The word Kedar goes back to the Hebrew word Quadar, which the word Quadar means dark. All right, this is the son of Ishmael, the descendants of Kedar. So he had to be very dark skinned for Ishmael to call his name Kedar or Quadar. It says dusky of the skin or the tent. No, it's the skin. And you can say tent because the tents were made out of, I'm pretty sure some of them were made out of skins, depending on what it was. So, but it's dealing with the skin. Kedar, son of Ishmael, Bedouin, as his descendants are the representatives, Kedar. Black skinned man. See? So these are all cuts to these devils. These are all cuts to these devils. Then it says, look not upon me because I am black, because the sun have looked upon me. And you know Jake, when Jake go in the sun, what happens? They get darker. My mother's, and this doesn't mean he had a tan. We just went to the definition of the word. It would have said, I am tan and comely. No. It said, I am black and comely. And Jake even says that I'm black and I'm proud, black and beautiful. Which black, that's not really the skin color, even though some look very, very dark, close to black, but they're really like a super dark brown. And then you have some that are very light. It says, my mother's children were angry with me. They made me the keeper of the vineyards, but mine own vineyard have I not kept. All right. So these are just certain points that I wanted to make. So going back again, in Genesis 25:25, the first one was very red at birth and covered with thick hair like a fur coat, which he wasn't covered with thick hair. He was very red like a hairy garment. And we went yesterday to show you that they actually dyed garments red. Red dyed garments images. You see here, different shades of red. There was another one I just saw right here. Boom. See? So that's what he looked like, as you see there. That's why I said he was very red. Very red. But then when we read about King David, so Jesse sent for him, he was dark and handsome, with beautiful eyes. And dark and handsome, this dealt with youthful beauty, just like in the editions of Esther. And she was ruddy through the perfection of her beauty. So ruddy is synonymous with beauty, and mainly with youthful beauty. Even though when you have Jake that gets older, they're still beautiful. But something about that youthful beauty, that sticks out the most. All right, so that's pretty much it. I just wanted to say, bring those 2 points out, as I forgot to bring it out in the lesson yesterday. And I kind of hit me this morning. So I said, you know what? This will be good to kind of highlight this. And I don't really have anything else right now. If the Spirit hits me to bring out another lesson, Lord's will, I will. So with that, I pray that you brothers and few sisters have been edified. Till the next time I say, Shalom.